Outstanding, the ultimate accolade for teachers. We challenge secondary science teacher Hana Abbasi to go from good to outstanding. A top inspector observes one lesson. 2 experts will fine-tune her practice and improve her presentation. She also gets comments and advice from teachers across the country who've seen her lesson on the web. Hana then has 3 weeks to put all the advice into action before the inspector comes back for the final verdict.
I think what I'm nervous about is the fact that everyone's going to be watching my lesson. I don't know whether it's going to be positive or negative. Hopefully they will help me through my journey.
Oaks Park High School is a large comprehensive in Essex. Hana Abbasi is in her 2nd year of teaching.
I think the fact that it's such a dynamic environment, you can't predict what's going to happen, and every child is different, so you have to adapt your teaching styles to suit their needs.
The school rates her teaching as good.
The strengths of Hana's teaching are that she plans her lessons very well, her behavioural management is excellent, the kids know that they're getting the real deal.
Hana will focus the challenge of getting to outstanding on her Year 8s.
OK, let's make a start. First things first, learning objectives and keywords.
It's a mixed ability group. Some days they may feel like working, some days they may not feel like working.
You discuss your ideas, yeah? Ask one another.
She's a really good teacher. Every time you walk into her lessons, you come out learning something new.
Right, come on, what's the scientific word for fat enzymes?
Yeah, I like the way she teaches, but sometimes it's a bit boring.
OK, Year 8. Can you have your pens down and face the front?
She can be strict sometimes.
Still waiting for some people.
I would say she should concentrate a lot on her classroom presence, the way she communicates with the children. She needs to be totally approachable so that that student knows that, wow, Miss knows exactly how I learn.
I know in my class I've got gifted and talented and SEN and EAL. Sometimes, you forget that you need to cater to individual needs. This lesson's basically just going to be an introduction to digestion, anxious or like to know what feedback I'm going to get.
It's the morning of Hana's first observation. With hundreds of inspections under her belt, School Inspector Claire Gillies leads teams up and down the country. She certainly knows an outstanding lesson when she sees one.
So, quickly, learning tips and keywords. And
Hana has 60 minutes to impress our inspector with her lesson on digestion.
By the end of this lesson, the whole class should be able to do the green learning objective. Most of you should be able to do the green and the blue learning objective. Zach, can you just remind the class quickly, what's digestion?
Digestion is the form where food is eaten and is broken down in the stomach.
Is the stomach the only organ that helps to break down the food? No. Right, give me some examples quickly. Esophagus. OK, where's that found?
In your neck, down to your
All right, from there to your stomach. Brilliant. Another one, Grace? Another organ? Top of your head. Right, don't worry, I'll come back to you. Someone else, any suggestions? Yep.
Large intestine.
Large intestines, right, brilliant. Going back to Grace, if I've got the large intestine, what's another type of organ? Fantastic, well done, small intestine.
I already knew most of it, but when she was teaching it, it made me be able to remember it more.
I'm going to hand out a comic strip which is going to look like this, OK? And what I want you to do is, 5 minutes, just by yourself, I want you to jot down what do you think happens from the start, from the minute this gentleman's got the pizza, to the end point where it comes out and he goes to the toilets. Yeah.
What's that tube where the food goes down?
There you go, esophagus. Well done. Or?
Gullet.
Gullet?
Yeah.
Well done. And you've got 40 seconds. OK, 40 seconds. Quickly, if you don't know anything, just jot any words down.
Sometimes she goes a bit fast. When we had to do that cartoon sheet today, she only gave us 3 minutes for it and we didn't get some boxes done quick enough.
OK, so basically we just did a little activity and this is going to be a good introduction to our task. Over the next few lessons, Year 8, you're going to be giving a presentation work where you're going to talk about a journey of a cheese sandwich. What I want you to do is, you're going to read the task, and there are certain levels. And if you turn over, there's a box at the bottom that says your target level. And what I want you to do is write down your target level, and you are going to write down one target from this board that you think is going to help you to start off your presentation work. So you are setting your own standards. Right, in front of you, you've got a picture of the digestive system. Your first task is Year 8. You're going to label the diagram, and then you are going to cut out the boxes and stick them to the correct areas. And then if you want to extend your answers, collect a textbook and add extra notes. Because remember, the more detailed your answer is, the higher your level's going to be.
Which one's the large intestine?
Is another word for anus.
Yeah, that one. What? The large intestine.
The large intestine is the thicker one, and the small one is the one that's all squidgy and looks like a brain in it.
Use the other worksheet to help you out. It's got extra notes and stuff. Yeah, well done. Right, just to round up the lesson, we've got 2 minutes. If you turn over with the comic strip is, you've got something called a learning log. I want you to complete 3 boxes of your learning log. What did you learn from this lesson?
So how did Hannah get on?
Hannah, thank you so much for letting me share that lesson on digestion, very suitable after lunch. And let me start by saying that it really was convincingly good, and there were several things that were, really sparkling. Just before we sort of go into the detail, what would you reflect looking back on the lesson as a whole? How well did you feel it went?
I think the lesson went okay. I'm glad that most of the tasks were carried out. The only thing I was slightly concerned about was time management. I think certain areas the students felt a bit rushed, but most of them managed to complete the task. So I was pleased, yeah.
They certainly did get the main task done. So let me highlight the things I felt really made it all go well. We got off to a very crisp, well-organised start. There was a really clever touch when you asked a girl a question and she just couldn't answer it at all, so you went over and asked somebody else who managed to get the answer out, and then went back with a sort of easier but related question for her, and she gave the answer. So that was subtle but very effective. And if I'm going to summarise, I suppose, the little things that perhaps just could have been that bit better was the balance, and I think you hit it on the head when you said time management. The balance between talking about levels, targets, perhaps slightly weighted too much to that rather than the interest and stimulus of really understanding how digestion works. A few of them were very slow to get going on the little starter, and that would be an opportunity for some very simple differentiation. But as I say, it was really good. There were lots of strong features there, and I hope those few little points to think about will perhaps move you onto the higher plane. So thank you very much again.
Thank you for feedback, it's been brilliant.
With the first observation over, the inspector highlighted Hannah's need to be more efficient with assessment levels and improve her differentiation. It's time to bring on the experts. To boost Hannah's progress, help comes from presentation and communications coach Mo Shapiro and secondary science expert Jigna Surani. They start by watching Hannah's lesson.
Zach, can you just remind the class quickly, what's digestion?
What I really liked about her was that she has fantastic energy and enthusiasm for the subject. She clearly loves what she's teaching. And when she's not shouting, she has a very, very nice voice.
Esophagus, okay, where's that found?
And another thing I noticed was that she moves around a lot in class, so I want her to stand still.
The one area that I'd really like her to focus on would be her use of questioning.
Is the stomach the only organ that helps to break down the...
Also, her use of differentiation I felt was a little bit superficial. So hi Hannah, I've had a really good look at your lesson. It's really clear that you know what you want your students to learn by the end of the lesson, what you want them leaving the lesson knowing that they didn't know before. I'm going to show you how you can make those objectives a little bit more smarter. This is Bloom's taxonomy, hierarchy levels of thinking. And what you can do is actually loosely identify each stage and correspond that to a level, a national curriculum level.
Okay.
So along here would be the level 4, the knowledge and the understanding would come there with the level 4.
Yeah.
The application would be a level 5. The analysis would be a level 6, a level 7 and then a level 8.
Right, okay.
And what you could do is your objectives would start with these words.
Right.
So they would be, your class would be describing digestion and explaining digestion, which would lead them to the level 4.
Right.
So they could then summarise the process of digestion, which would lead them to the level 5. And for your high flyers, you could get them to compare and contrast chemical and mechanical digestion to really extend the high able.
And then they familiarise themselves with the key terms as well for the different levels.
Yeah, absolutely. We have this up in our classroom.
Really good
And
idea.
again, it's just getting them familiar and sharing the vocabulary and making it really transparent that this is what learning is and this is how you learn.
Right. Yeah, brilliant.
I looked at your lesson plan and you have differentiation on there, but it is quite superficial.
Right.
So you've got your gifted and talented students working on their own or getting a textbook to do some more work.
Yeah.
There are 3 different ways that you can differentiate. One of those ways is differentiation by outcome, which is what we've just done up there. You can also differentiate by the use of your resources. This would be a resource that you could use for perhaps one of your lower able students or your EAL students, and it's a keyword grid.
Right.
They could then translate that into their own language if they are English as an additional language, or they could draw a picture to help them understand what the keyword meant and then look the meaning up in the dictionary. So you were scaffolding their understanding of the keywords in that way. Something for your more able, it would be a really good idea if you could plan in some higher order questions. And on here I've got some question stems that you could use. So you could throw in some analysis questions. So for example, give reasons for why most of the absorption takes place in the small intestine rather than what happens in the small intestine.
Right.
Something else that you could do to try and keep your class on their toes, so they don't know who's going to be picked, is the use of a name selector. So it's basically just a PowerPoint with the slides, and on each slide has got the name of the people in your class, and because they don't know whose name is going to come up, it means that they all have to pay attention.
That's really good. Right, anyone here's not done their target level at the moment?
Okay, Hannah, I noticed in your lesson there's a lot of the time you were walking around, and I wondered, first of all, how the students responded to that, but also how it feels to be one of the students who actually can't see what's going on. How does it feel down there?
It's like all over the place.
So I don't know, does it make any difference if you've now got me in front of you?
It makes a slight difference because at least I know where to follow the direction of the voice.
Yes. I'm just wondering whether you're still feeling a little seasick. I know I am as I walk up and down. I
No,
feel a bit like
definitely.
a caged tiger. So does this remind you of anything?
Me. Yep, it's me.
Okay, because this is what happens sometimes, isn't it? So I'm just wondering how this is helping my learning when all this is going on. What are we going to do to stop you moving around the room?
Probably have like 2 fixed positions in the classroom.
Excellent. Maybe one would be a spot where you ask questions.
Yeah.
And maybe another would be where you get feedback from the children, where they ask you questions.
Right, in front of you, you've got a nice big sheet, like so.
Because this is something that you said, and it went something like this. So you can make sure and put your name on the piece of paper and do not lose it. And then I've just handed out a worksheet. It went something like that. Yeah? I can feel that now, just having done that, okay?
Okay.
So what we want to do is think about projection, so that your voice moves without you having to shout.
Right.
Now, I want you to imagine just breathing in through your diaphragm, in through your nose, out through your mouth. And I'm going to do it to count to 3, in, 2, 3, out, 2, 3, in, 2, 3, out, 2, 3. The reason I'm doing that is so that you're getting more air through, you've got more control, you can project your voice more.